Welcome to the weekend must-watch on Intercut, where we wade our way through the week in theaters, streaming, and on demand. I am your co-host, Zach Shevich, and joining me, some people would say he's the villain of this story. It's Arturo
Ooh.
Zurita.
Damn, bro, I don't even get that Elvis bit. I got Tom Hanks over here.
Somebody's got to be the colonel in this situation.
I'll be the Oscar winner. But hey, maybe there's an Oscar in Austin's future as well. But I'm
Yeah,
glad you finished watching Elvis. I thought you would still have been in the third act. Thought it would have still been running for you. But I'm glad you're able to wrap that one up. And
long
also with
movie.
Black Phone. Yeah, it was a very long movie, but I think it was a solid release for movies this week.
Yeah.
Especially as we lead into July. I think we're about to get a lot more theatrical experiences because even when I went to go see Elvis, that thing practically sold out, man. I cleared. I took multiple COVID tests just to make sure that I was ready and healthy to get back into theaters. And then there's a elderly lady sitting next to me, dude. Like, I think she saw Elvis. I think she witnessed the wiggle firsthand. So the Dolby did nothing for her. But I had I felt a little tickle in my throat. And I was like, I can't do this, man. One cough and that lady's gone. She's not gonna be able to be here for the third half. But yeah, I think movies are coming back stronger than ever with the releases that we have this week, and
Yeah.
some
I
may
mean,
may take it all the way to the Oscars, according to a lot of the buzz that people have out of this. But I'm curious your thoughts. But
yeah, it's potentially. I mean, there's a lot of buzz about theaters being back, people going to the movies again. We've had a couple weeks, as you sort of were alluding to, where we haven't had a lot in theaters. There's kind of been clearing the paths for Top Gun, for Jurassic Park, and this was like a classic summer movie
yes,
weekend where you get a couple options, and there's good stuff to see, and people are really going out. There's a pretty healthy crowd, it seems like, for Elvis. But I mean, the big surprise, if we're going to just talk box office for a second, Top Gun, several weeks now
bro.
after its release, basically a month after its release, back at number one in the box office. My crazy prediction before of it being a top
You were
10
right.
grossing of all time, it's at 15.
A
It might
bill,
do it. Our boy Tom
bro.
might do
That
it.
came out of nowhere. I'm just scrolling on my phone trying to check the weather, and the news app is like, Top Gun has reached 900. I'm like, when did it reach 900? And then yeah, dude, a billion. That is insane. I want to go see it again. I was looking through my theater stuff, and they brought it back on 40X. They took Jurassic World. They didn't even bother with Lightyear. They put this bad boy back on 40X for people to catch, which I had the chance to catch it. I'd recommend it if you want to see Top Gun again, and you're like, I want to see it in a different type of theater. Maybe you've seen it in IMAX. Go strap yourself in and be in the danger zone. I would recommend the 40X on that one. I am still curious to see the Screen X because that's the one I didn't get to see,
Mm.
dude. And I think that they still have a couple of screenings somewhere in the United States. So if you do have a chance to see that, let us know because this is like the one movie where they actually filmed it for the most screens. But you were spot on, dude. $1 billion for Tom Cruise. I think this makes it
Yeah.
his highest grossing
Oh, it must be at this point. It
easily.
was his highest opening, and it's just made so much money. So, yeah, Tom is in the big leagues with the box office. But this weekend, it was all about the Black Phone and Elvis. So, if we're gonna get into what we're watching, Art, what should we start with? You want to go with horror or a bit of a music biopic?
Start the one that had people coming out of their pants. Black Phone. To some people, it might be Elvis, but I want to talk about Black Phone because you gave it the recommendation last week. I know this
Yeah.
was a movie that had its release date moved several times. It premiered at a couple of festivals. It had that like coveted 100% rating as of whatever the date is that it has on the trailer. But it comes from Scott Derrickson, who previously did Sinister. A lot of people know
Mm-hmm.
he worked with Marvel and then departed ways for Doctor Strange 2. I rewatched Sinister recently. That movie is dreadful. That movie is horrendous, and it's actually a really solid horror movie.
Yeah, you mean those in terms literally, I believe.
Easily, yeah. Until it gets these really dumb jump scares that I think Black Phone is also guilty of. There are a couple of really dumb jump scares that happen in
Mhm.
Black Phone, but I thought Black Phone was more of a thriller than it was a horror.
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, the horror elements are a little bit bare bones in the Black Phone. It's something that I actually appreciated a little bit about it, that it's not pointing to some deep lore that we're gonna discover in the next movie, and it's not like a big metaphor for society. It's kind of like this is a movie about how scary it must be to be a kidnapping victim.
Yeah.
And it's accentuated and exaggerated and brought into like the Scott Derrickson, Robert Cargill lens. But I dug the ways in which they kind of added that scary, unsettling tension to this what otherwise could be maybe like a more bare bones kidnapper plot. Did you enjoy it, or are you kind of on the fence about it?
No, I would say I'm on the more positive side. I think if you're going in for a horror,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those where I like the themes of it and the whole sibling. Like, it's really a sibling story because it's not just a kidnapping that's happening between these boys, but you're mainly following these two right here who live in an abusive home. So they're not just dealing with the horrors of what's going to happen to them if one of them gets kidnapped, but the horrors of being at home with their alcoholic father. I like her performance a lot more than I liked his. I'd say she's written to definitely be a lot over the top, but there's a line she delivers in this movie excuse me, that had the movie theater erupted. It's a scene with the cops. I think that a lot of people for their screenings, that's the one line that I think gets everybody to like howl. I know that she was supposed to do a movie for Disney or something, so they were going to have to recast her, and Scott Derrickson's like, nah, I want her in this movie. We will literally wait. And it was because of her auditioning with that police scene that she made it to the film. So I really like the sibling dynamic that they had going on, and the setting, because he wasn't dissing Stranger Things, but Scott Derrickson was like, everybody looks at the 70s and the 80s as this like mystical time, but I lived in Denver and there was like Ted Bundy was here and there's all these serial killers and everything. He's like, that's how I remember nostalgia. He definitely flipped it on its head.
Yeah, there was something about the direction of it that, you know, I don't want to accidentally hyperbolize this and say that like this is amazing, but in the way that it was sort of like trying to be a frank depiction of the times, like I almost got some Mindhunter vibes in elements.
Rightfully so.
I feel like they're definitely inspired by it, if not like directly trying to crib it, especially the way that like that whole title sequence comes out feels like they're trying to crib Mindhunter. So yeah, I mean, maybe that is a better indicator of the type of movie this is, that it's not necessarily your straightforward horror, that it is more set more in the real world, at least to an extent. It definitely has a foot in the supernatural.
What'd you think of that, dude? Because I know he loves doing this where he likes to play a very grounded element, and I think the whole idea of the grabbing kids is very much in a grounded element. But then you have two supernatural things. I don't want to mention one with the sister because I don't know how much of that is in the trailers. But obviously the whole dynamic of the phone.
The black phone.
The kid is getting calls on the phone. I personally feel like sometimes one undercuts the other, because if you're dealing with something so grounded and then you have like a supernatural cop-out way, it can kind of get in the way. But then there's a line that a character says in this movie where there's like, the kid practically says, you need blood for the crowd, you know? And that's practically the filmmakers telling you, you kind of need a little hook, you know? This is Blumhouse.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if we don't have that element, this is like a horrifying movie and not
it's
kind of
just Mindhunters again, yeah.
Right. Like I had fun with this, and I think that black phone element was part of what made it fun. Like there's this like puzzle element to it almost. I enjoyed it, and again, like that's one of the things that they could have gone deeper into, like, how does this work? What does it mean? And I just appreciate it just sort of being a element of the movie, you know, not something that has to be overly important or overly explained.
Yeah, I would say definitely go catch it for a sequence. I'll just say it's the Dreams Are Not My Dreams sequence. And for Ethan Hawke, I don't know how you felt about the man, but I thought he did a pretty good job with his work.
I've seen some people disappointed that he was maybe not a bigger element to the movie or something like that. I thought he's really good, like terrifying in a very like unsettling. I don't know, just
it's like Split almost.
Yeah, like the he's so kind in moments that it's creepy, and I think that's creepier rather than having this like foreboding, loud, yelly guy. It just that clownish nature to him. It was very, very fun.
It's also funny you say that, because I read the short story, and in the short story he's supposed to be a clown.
Oh, there we go.
So you had the clown, and then you had the black balloons, not the red balloons. You had someone in a rain jacket. They hate being compared to Stephen King's It, but it is funny that the short story comes from Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's kid.
son-in-law or son?
No, son directly. Yeah, the man
Directly
just changed his name.
My bad.
But yeah, no, I thought he was really good in the movie. I like what they did with the masks. That whole idea of
Yeah.
like depending on his different personality, the mask kind of changes. You see a
I was
little
gonna
bit
say,
of that in the
very
trailer.
cool mask. Sometimes a horror movie like this, like if you just have a cool element like that, it goes a really long way.
Yes, sir.
And that's a very cool mask. I'm not. I was gonna say looking forward to it, but I'm definitely not looking forward to seeing that in Halloween.
On
costumes.
Halloween, yeah. I mean, dude, it's Blumhouse. You know, he sold those purge masks, but overall, I think it's a solid thriller. With horror elements that I think are there for people who want to be drawn in for that. It's definitely worth a rental for me, but I'm sitting at it at like a junior price because I saw it with a packed audience on opening night, and everybody had reactions to certain elements in the movie. Not better than Sinister. If you haven't caught that one, go back and revisit that one. That one's crazy. Do you like it more than Sinister?
I still need to catch up with Sinister. I know.
Dude, you don't have to watch Sinister 2, but watch Sinister. There is actually a cop in that movie that will surprise you because they're also in this movie. I'll just say he's got his own little universe going on. He took notes from Marvel.
Interesting.
I will say this, going into Thursday, you know that we're like, there's something wrong in the world. When I'm looking at Alina asking her, do we need to catch up on any prequels or 1, 2, or 3? And the movies of the week are Black Phone and Elvis. Man, I was really wondering, am I behind? What do I need to catch up with? Have I not seen Elvis Ragnarok? Elvis, however, is supposed to be the big biopic on the legend, brought to you by Baz Luhrmann, who, if you don't know, what hasn't he done? What classic tale has he not remixed and however much you want to call it, modernized and changed up to be just like an extravagant fest? If there's something that I would compare Baz to is just excess. Yeah. Whatever you think you're going to get from his movie, people come into it and they say it's too much or it wasn't tame. It says Baz Luhrmann on the poster. You should know what you're getting at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you didn't learn from Moulin Rouge and Great Gatsby.
Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. You're just not going to learn your lesson at this point.
Yeah.
Where does it fall for you, and how do you feel about Baz Luhrmann? You and I've never had a Baz bracket.
We haven't had a Baz bracket, and I don't know if it'd be a very interesting episode because I kind of feel like Baz hasn't really done a very good movie in maybe like 20 years at this point. I love Moulin Rouge, but not like a whole lot else since then.
Wow.
At least from Baz. That being said, I do like, he's one of those directors that I want to see when he does something new, and I'm glad that he's out there making stuff. Like, I don't love a lot of what he does, but I will fight for his right to do it because he's singular, you know? We don't have enough of these singular vision guys who you just need to see a couple frames and you know instantly that is a Baz Luhrmann movie. And this one is no different than that. Whether it's the like rapid cuts or the intense match cuts in every other moment. There was a match cut that dissolved into another match cut in this movie.
Yes,
that's
sir.
How over the top Baz Luhrmann gets with it. And in certain moments, it really, really works. I think to get at the bombast, the excitement, the grandiosity of an Elvis Presley performance, to match it with Baz Luhrmann, really, his style really accentuates what makes it special. Like, you get those quick zooms on him gyrating, or those quick zooms on the screaming faces on the crowds. Yeah, those slow-mos of the thrusts and whatever. And I think it does make those parts of the film momentous. And then there's other moments that are like the more expository moments, or the story moments, or the Tom Hanks talks in a weird narrator voice moments that lost me a little bit. Mm-hmm. Overall, I actually think I like this one, and it's probably my favorite Baz Luhrmann movie since Moulin Rouge. There's a whole lot I didn't like about it, but ultimately I enjoyed my time in the theater. So yeah, I guess I'm positive on it. It's a lot of movie, but some of it's pretty good.
It's a very long movie. Do you think it uses its runtime to its fullest potential?
No, absolutely not. There's so much of like Tom Hanks doing this weird voice and everybody else just sort of like looking the other way as he cartoonishly is like, oh, I'm doing this for your own good. I don't know, man. I think, like, obviously the Colonel's influence over Elvis Presley's career is kind of like the defining story of Elvis's career. But in the way it plays out in the film, it's like 2 hours of him obviously screwing Elvis over, and him not realizing it until like an hour and a half into it, you know?
Yeah, like it's surprising he doesn't have a mustache, because if he did, he'd be twirling it for the two
All the
hours and
time.
39 minutes. Yeah, I thought it's an interesting approach to have it be that it's a three-part story of Elvis as he's contained by this. You know, because he runs like a circus, right? He's the dude
Yeah.
who's touring around with different type of like performances. Then he gets into music and he realizes, this is like my biggest thing that I can show off into the world. It does make it less of an Elvis movie and more of
Yeah.
a manager gone wrong movie, and I agree with you
Yeah.
there. And I think that between both of their performances, he hams it up a lot. But I really liked Austin Butler.
Austin Butler's kind of very good in this one, man.
There's
Uh,
there's a part in it, because you had mentioned Moulin Rouge, and I had just
Yeah.
seen it recently in theater, like
Yeah.
on Broadway. Because you go see a show, you know that the difference between a stage performance and a movie is that you're going to get stuff that's very over the top. The makeup has to accentuate itself. You're not supposed to do that on film, and they did with both of
Yeah.
their prosthetics, with the way that they act. But after like a little bit, I think if you've seen the trailer and you think that both of their prosthetics kind of get in the way, Hanks isn't gonna like change your mind once you're in the movie. But there's something about Austin where he just dissolves into this specific movie and what they're going for, that it works. It works
it
very
really
well.
works. It works very well. I think he does like a very good job of embodying the physicality of the role, and even the voice too. I think is like very solid. I was not really seeing Austin at certain points, which is I think
Wow.
the highest compliment you can give a performance like
That
that,
is
right?
good.
And like ultimately, yeah, there's like a lot of impression in it, but it's an extremely solid impression and extremely full-bodied, and I don't know, it worked very well for me. And it's just funny because it's contrasted against what I think is one of the more embarrassing Tom Hanks performances ever. That one did not work for me at all. I had to go and look up interviews with the Colonel afterward. It's not his voice at all.
Yeah, and he keeps claiming nobody knows the Colonel, nobody really knew about him, so I'm able to create this character. I'm like, bro, get out of here. That's why I had asked you early on. I was like, there's a certain
Yeah.
point where it almost feels like they're trying to make Elvis a supporting character in his own damn movie.
I know. For what it's worth, I think they're co-leads, but
That's
Hanks might
crazy,
have
first
more
of all.
screen time,
That's
and
crazy.
he's less interesting. Like
That
that,
makes
it's
no
a
sense.
failure in the writing of the movie that they didn't just tip the bat. Like what I wanted was a little bit more for a movie that's ostensibly about Elvis Presley. There was not a whole lot of Elvis music. Like maybe in the latter half, you get more of the performances, but there's one scene where he is writing a song. There's like not a whole lot of
I
the
agree.
like he puts out this song and look at the wave of success that follows, and everybody's listening to this on the radio. Like, the one thing is we heard rumors of there would be Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. All those modern musical elements I actually thought were a lot less prevalent than I expected them to be, and just kind
Really?
of like nicely sort of like woven in a way to add context and not distract. But ultimately, it's Elvis, man. Put as much Elvis music as you can in this thing.
I think with Austin, they were able to really do well on like the way that he performed, mainly the idea of his relationship with the crowd, right?
Yes.
Because that's the one thing. Again, it really is through the eyes of Tom Hanks' character, dude. It's him seeing like, wow, he does a really good job at engaging with people. So that's what you're seeing for Elvis. You're only seeing Elvis through his point of view, and I think, like you said, I wanted to see the Elvis who's writing his stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see the Elvis who's going down this turmoil. And it's almost like one of those movies where it expects you to already know everything about Elvis. So yeah, you see the Band-Aid on his hand. We're just going to make sure that we get the details down right, but we're not going to expand on them. This is a movie where it has the blessing of the estate. And if I ran the estate, I would be very, very, very happy with this movie. That's all I
Right.
will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's doing the best that he can with the script. That's for sure. But I think he deserved even more, in my opinion. So, I mean, this is not going to be the only Elvis movie we're ever going to get.
No.
He's such a big character that there's going to be a point where, you're going to get different incarnations. Recently, I was able to catch, there's one, I don't know if you've seen this one. It is, it's called Elvis and Nixon.
Yes, the Michael Shannon, who plays Nixon in that one? Jeez.
House of Cards.
Oh yeah. Oh man. That was another Tribeca premiere, actually, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very interesting take on Elvis. And it reminded me, really showcases you don't really get to see Elvis, the man, in the movie.
Hmm. Hmm.
Elvis has a lot of passions and a lot of things that he carries with him and things that he collects and just a manner of speaking, and you don't really get to focus
Yeah.
on that type of Elvis in this movie. But it is all about the grandeur, and I think for that, I thought it was a very interesting way to look back at him. Some may argue that the way that they incorporate his passions early on being in like the gospel church culture and how he gets influenced by that. I think they really sided on the idea of like he was like the person who brought them together. And it's
Hmm.
okay to get a little bit dirty when they get to his drug stuff. They just like get to it pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
there's like an argument with Priscilla. You don't really get to focus in on the pitfalls as much as it is like the turbulence within the tour. Um, but for what it's going for,
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is a movie where I do think
Yeah.
you feel the 3 hours, but it also still feels like there should have been a lot more. So it's like both a compliment and a negative. A miniseries would have been great,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah.
Miniseries would have been fantastic, but the Get Down did
Totally.
not
But
do well
that,
for him, so they know better than to give him miniseries money again. But yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like ultimately to make a movie, you have to decide like certain elements of the story to sacrifice. And I don't know. I think they maybe sacrificed some elements of the story that I wish they'd kept in there. I did
yeah,
kind of like the elements where they showed like the lineage of his music and how much of it was borrowed from black musicians. And
borrowed.
I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Uh,
Yeah, borrowed's maybe the nice way to put
What
it.
a hero. I'll just say that there's a bunch of stuff that they showcase in the trailers, and that's not how it plays out in the movie. But yeah, no, I would give this my recommendation. Definitely check it out in a Dolby Mix if you can, because I think they
Yep.
do a fantastic job with the sound. I know that Butler, for the first half of the movie, all the early songs that Elvis does, he sang. And then for the latter half, they combined his voice with Elvis's recording. So
Mm.
that's pretty cool. So do you think we'll be talking about this movie later on in award season? It's just a question I got to ask. I'm obligated. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's weird because so whenever you bring up music biopics, at least from recent Oscars memory, you have to talk about how Rami Malek, of course, won for playing Freddie Mercury despite lip syncing all the stuff, and somehow Taron Egerton giving what I thought was a better performance in Rocket
Watch it.
Man, completely overlooked by the Oscars, won the Golden Globe, but did not get that nomination even, let alone a win. So the Oscars can be very hit or miss, and kind of for no discernible reason in terms of who they want to, like, maybe it's just because we had Bohemian Rhapsody earlier, but I don't know, man. Maybe the fact that it is in such a weird, splashy movie that I don't think will do well in other categories makes me think he has less of a chance. Like if this was a great movie that was going to get 8 nominations below the line, that's one thing. And maybe because is a lot of like technical mastery at work here.
Hmm.
I get the feeling that this is going to be one of those that's on the outside looking in, especially since it is coming in the summer and we still have a whole film festival award season to go through.
You mentioned Bohemian Rhapsody, so I'm rooting for the guy. I would love to see him
Yeah.
at least get the nomination.
Yeah.
And since you were talking about the awards that Bohemian won, it also won editing. Don't forget that. So
Good
I
point.
know that this isn't the best editing, but I think for what the movie is going for, I think it's very excessive editing, and I
Yes.
very much enjoyed the way it was cutting the things. It is a lot, and it almost makes you feel as exhausted as this man when he went on tour.
Mhm.
So, hey, I don't know, maybe an editing thing, but I don't see anything for writing. I don't see anything for a lot of the other categories there. And if Tom Hanks gets a nomination,
Oh my god.
then you know
Would
something's off.
it would be fitting after all the great performances that he's been overlooked for not even getting a nomination for that Captain Phillips performance, that this is the movie that brought him back to the Oscars. But I wouldn't be surprised
rough.
by it either.
We'll see. Overall, I give it a combo price. If you have the chance to go see this in a Dolby Theater, it was packed for mine. I feel it's going to continue to be packed for this July 4th weekend. Go give it a watch.
See it in
And
the
let me
middle
know.
of the afternoon because it'll be full of boomers who are around and really appreciate Elvis.
Nah, bro. Remember how they react in the trailer or in the first stand sequence where they just
Yeah.
can't help it? That was a ladies' night to me, man. I thought they were about to croak. But they loved it. So Black Phone and Elvis out in theaters. There's also some new stuff that was out in streaming. Yeah, guys got to go to theaters because the streaming wasn't the strongest one. We had a new one from Netflix called The Man from Toronto. Unless it's Kevin saying it, then it's The Man from Toronto. This is an action buddy comedy. Like, it's not a buddy cop, it's like a buddy assassin thing. Kevin Hart plays that character you've seen Kevin Hart play all the time. You know, he's just a regular dude who just wants to be with his wife, and he decides to do this whole like kind of getaway where he accidentally books the same place. It's the way he printed it out, where he ends up mixed up with the wrong crowd, where the cabin he's supposed to go to is actually where a big assassin known as only the Man from Toronto, played by Woody Harrelson, is supposed to do a sort of hit. So now everyone thinks everyone thinks Kevin Hart is the Man from Toronto, but he's not the Man from Toronto.
Obviously.
It's Woody, bro. And that's the movie. I don't know if you had the chance to catch this one.
No, I didn't.
Streaming is the perfect place for a movie like this. You know, you have your clips from Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
You have the whole banter of him playing, you know, the very quirky guy who wants to do no contact boxing, whereas Woody Harrelson, very interestingly enough, for those of you who don't know, Google Wiki Woody Harrelson and check out what he had to do to really get into this role of a serial killer. They both play off of each other the way that you expect them to. There is some good action sequences, I would say. There's a sequence that happens up on a plane where I thought the hand-to-hand combat was pretty cool, and then it just gets full green screen. And that's the way that they handle the comedy. That's the way that they handle the script. You know Netflix. They've been known for having these really big actors in these what would have been meddling theater action movies, sitting perfectly at home, did the number one spot. Actually, I don't even think it did the number one spot. Sing took it from it. Who would have thought? Yeah. So there is probably no reason to see this unless you're hanging out with your dad this weekend, and then I guess check it out for that reason.
Yeah, Kevin Hart has a pretty well-established relationship with Netflix at this point, and I guess that, you know, there's a good reason why. It seems like his movies often are the kind of films that are designed to be watched, kind of half-watched on a service like Netflix. He's really trying to do these action comedies, though. He keeps returning to them. Ride Along and Jumanji. And is he any more convincing with the action stuff? Is it work for you?
No, because he does that thing where he pretends like he's not the action guy. He's the regular dude, so that when the action sequences happen, he's given that thing where he's like, what is it called? Not only that, but like he sets you up to not expect anything. So then if he does an action movie, it's like, wow, the ordinary guy did that. It's very clever. He's very clever at doing that, yeah.
Keeps the bar pretty low.
That's what it is. He puts the bar low so he can exceed your expectations type stuff. So, unless you're curious in catching the new Kevin Hart action flick and the previous ones have lived up to it, this would be a super low rent it for me, which is exactly what a stream it is for. So stream this one only if you're curious. The other thing that was out, you caught it. I caught it. It's an A24 production that isn't really a movie. It's not really considered a special. I don't know the name of this thing. But before we even talk about what we think of it, I love this idea, this concept of being able to use streaming to get two comedians to come together and create this crazy sketch thing that's like almost an anthology skit series. I don't know what it is, but that's what's so beautiful about it. Would It Kill You to Laugh, starring Kate Bellant and John Early. They're both really good in a lot of things that I've seen them in. First time I remember seeing her was in Sorry to Bother You, and I've seen him in like a dozen stuff. I know he's in the show that you like from TBS.
Search Party. Yeah.
Search Party.
He's one of the writers in that Mindy Kaling movie Late Night. He's very funny in, but yeah, he shows up on a bunch of stuff and it's funny. And Kate Berlant also starting to show up in stuff and be very funny. She's in that Garfield sketch from the first season of I Think You Should Leave.
He's in season 2 or 3 where he doesn't want to pay the bill.
Yes.
Oh, he was really good in that one. If you've seen him in any of that stuff, this is them for 55 minutes straight. Yeah. Just doing, I don't even know what you call it. How would you break this down?
Well, it's like a very sort of millennial stereotype comedy character humor. It's very like modern in the types of people it's skewering, but it's also got this weird absurdist thing happening.
Okay, I was going to say that was the exact word I wanted to say, but I wasn't sure if that's like this is the proper word to use, but it really is.
Yeah, like there's this entire sketch done where they're in like beaver costumes that are
they're a beaver
never
family.
Really addressed, or like made an important part of the sketch, really.
Well, the important part was they might have sold the rights away, and it takes 90 days for you to be able to get your eye retina back. They
Everybody
pay in caramel?
they pay in hot caramel ladles. And it's just there's like a creativity and inventiveness and just completely nonsensical zaniness to so much of it that it makes it very funny. But there's also these really clever ideas going on. I like the one sketch about the guys who are doing home renovations that ends with the bit about the row homes. I don't know. There's pretty funny bits in there. It's also we didn't even sort of mention that the whole thing is constructed around this idea that they are a comedy duo reuniting after 20 years apart in a special hosted by Meredith Vieira. So it's just like there's all these weird layers to it, but it's very, very funny.
And they make fun, like you were saying, it being millennial. They're like making fun of Will and Grace by just calling you exactly what the title would have been in like the writers' room. A lot of the sketches that they recall back on is just playing on a lot of tropes. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't think it was the funniest like special, I guess, that I've seen in the past year. But I like that concept of being able to make a pre-written, not necessarily a live variety show, that I would put it up there with like what we've been able to see on HBO's Black Lady Sketch Show. And honestly, what they've almost turned that last season of Atlanta into, because I know he spoke about that just being shorts. He's like, I want to make it so it doesn't matter that you've seen 1 and 2, and I think that's why a lot of people had backlash to Atlanta. But I think with streaming, you finally have the ability to make stuff like this. So I'm very curious to see just more specials.
Tonally, this reminded me a bit of I Think You Should Leave, even though I don't think it's quite as funny as the Tim Robinson Show.
Best way to put it. Moving into TV series, actual just regular, TV. Remember TV's Act, just episodes of the season, and they may be renewed. For
cable.
The fourth time, we don't do cable. For the fourth time, Westworld has returned, and I am so behind. I am still on 2.
Oh,
Zach,
my God.
What does this do differently? Should people who have hopped off hop back on?
You hopped off at the last time that I would consider Westworld to have been like a solid, good show. So I don't know if you should endeavor. At this point in Westworld's arc, if that's what we're gonna call it, I think it's more a show that I watch because there are interesting ideas happening more than they are doing the ideas interestingly, right? Like there's a lot of fascinating concepts being thrown around, and a lot of them are just sort of gibberish in the way that they're assembled with, either they are intensely forecasted and obvious, or they're the kind of things you would only really get if you do the Reddit deep dive and go through those threads. And
it's a homework show, you're right.
It's like a lot of it is a homework show or it's a surface level show. And I don't know. I get a little bit frustrated with that balance because there are so many like beautiful locations and fascinating production design. The futurist vision that they are able to put together is consistently just some of the most beautiful production design on television right now. And it's just met with often the most dull writing. They keep like writing themselves into circles to Evan Rachel Wood is playing an entirely new character this season. Why is she an entirely new character? Well, you'll just have to wait to find out. And they brought back a character who also hasn't been on the show for a little bit. Why do we keep circling back to these people who were like nicely tied up in different ways? I don't really know. It's just like afraid to get rid of the recognizable faces or something like that. Not sure why Ed Harris is still on this show. Jeffrey Wright, Jeffrey Wright, who's consistently one of my most favorite performers to watch, does not show up in the first episode of season 4. I don't know. I'm just a little bit lost, if I'm being honest, with Westworld. I think the thing that they like to do is throw out a lot of threads in the beginning of the season and then like wait for you to follow those threads for them to really pay off. And they do kind of like a mini reset again at the beginning of the season. So I don't know. They've set some things up, but I'm just like, I'm not that invested yet. I'll keep watching because it's like it's just what I do at this point. But I don't know. I'm a little lost with Westworld. I'm curious to see if other people are more on board because between like the crazy timeline shenanigans of season 2 and the you know implanting of of consciousnesses into different bodies in season 3,
Oh, they're
it's
finally
just
doing
such
that? Okay.
it's such a mess of a show at this point that I find it like a chore to really like care that much about the continuity. I'm more into it for like the moments and the ideas, I guess.
How's Maeve's in it?
I mean, then D-Way is fun. Then D-Way is always fun on this show. She gets a pretty badass moment pretty early. They've turned her into like the ultimate badass now.
Okay.
But I'm again like I didn't know why they kept her character on after the first season. You know, like they do they do this thing where they actually do interesting arcs and then they erase the arcs by trying to keep the characters going.
That sucks, dude. Season 1, I still think is one of the
It's
best
a great
like
season.
seasons, packaged whole product that HBO has been able to put out, and I feel like they've been like the way you describe it, they've been chasing for that ever since. Oh well, Westworld.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'll let you know if it gets any better, if Aaron Paul's hairpiece gets any better, but I'm mostly
Don't
just going
do
to be
more.
watching it to see if they do anything like crazy midway
All
through the
right.
season.
Well, one day I'll catch up to it. But Westworld season 4 streaming on Sundays, right? Over on
Yeah,
HBO.
Sunday nights.
Keeping it to the HBO, we got 2 other things. You were not able to catch the first one, but I did not realize this was weekly when we were touting it next week. Mind
Yeah,
Over Murder, a docu-series
Nan-Fu
from
Wang.
Nanfu Wang, who we think
Yeah,
is, for me personally, speaking for myself, she is the one, bro.
yeah.
She is the documentarian we need in these times. There are so
Her
many.
Theo Anthony.
Oh, yeah, and the dude who did
That's
Dissident too. Like, if they make
ooh,
something, I am paying attention. This is a
yes.
docu-series about the craziest story that I've never heard of a little town in Nebraska where a woman was murdered and multiple townspeople said, yeah, we did it. Actually, no, psych, we didn't. And the town to this day is still trying to piece together what happened. And now they're making a play because she like was in the theater where townspeople will be playing the townspeople who may have killed the townsperson.
This is some like the act of killing kind of shit.
Yes. I've seen the
Whoa.
first episode, and I think it's very fascinating the way she's able to sit down and interact with the subjects, a lot of the townspeople, the way that they're able to discuss where they were during that time, what animosities they may have had towards each other. Just breaking down the case is also done very interestingly by going piece by piece of what happened. What was the crime scene like? So the first episode has been all set up, and it definitely leaves you with the intrigue. It's going to be 6 episodes. I am very curious to see how all of it unfolds, especially with this
Yeah.
narrative of actually having people try out for the play that they're going to do about this murder that happened in this town. It's streaming over on HBO Max. I'm not exactly sure what days, but like I said, it will be going up until the end of July. If you have not seen any of her other docs, definitely hop on them. All of them. Multiple of them are on HBO as well.
Which one would you start with? One Child Nation or wait, is the other one
Other one's
in the
on
same breath on
Prime.
HBO? It's on Prime.
In the
Okay.
same breath as on HBO, One Child Nation is on Prime. But I think she has something else that's on HBO as well. So I'll start with whatever the HBO ones are. So that way you only have to pay the one or get the free trial subscription as soon as this wraps and be able to binge it all together. But yeah, she is one of the best documentarians we've got out there. And this is a very fascinating show so far. So if you don't have this on your list, definitely put it on your radar. Another one on HBO to wrap it up here really quick. Do you know anything about Menudo? Zach, you ever heard about this boy band, Menudo?
I mean, my biggest knowledge is this is the Ricky Martin.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ricky Martin.
Ricky Martin band.
So Menudo's pretty much a band where they would have kids who were like, I don't know, like 10 to 15. And then once
Yeah.
you're 15, you have time to recast and get a new one. And this kind of gets into that idea of the Latin boy band from Puerto Rico and how big they got and were able to become universal. They cross over from being in Spanish to English. And it's a lot of fascinating stuff there. And then obviously it turns into this documentary that's looking at the manager and how he pretty much was able to get all the rights to these kids, that he was their guardian. and then it unfolds into a bunch of madness. It's really interesting to see a lot of the archival stuff. My mom, obviously, she saw them live, so I saw this with her to get her input. We'd pause and she'd say something. Yeah, he wasn't as good as the other one, or yeah, this is when they started going downhill. But it's just fascinating to like see their impact on culture. But they don't have Ricky Martin. They don't have like Johnny. They don't have a lot of the people who I think would have really made this, the next step up as like a big monumental look at Menudo without having, some of the biggest voices from there. But I still think it's worth the watch. It's one of those documentaries where it's split into 4 parts, and the 4 parts are like 40, 45-ish minutes. So it really is a doc, but split in episodic ways. So if you're interested in catching this one, I'd give it the thumbs up over on HBO. It's a nice little recap of the band and what the different 31 people, 31 kids had to go through. So definitely put this one on your radar if you are interested. Moving to Netflix, I am surprised you said you caught 2 episodes, because from what I know, I didn't think you cared for the Umbrella Academy.
Well, I said I only caught 2, Arturo.
The Umbrella Academy is back for season 3. This comes from Gerard Way, who, if you're a Green Day fan, then this is for the My Chemical Romance fans who like something wacky, something crazy. He wrote the graphic novel for this, the comic series. And I think they're practically at that point where they're Game of Thronesing it, because I think they've reached the level where they're kind of
past the comics.
It's like it's past the comics, but at the same time, there's a bunch of stuff from volumes 1 and 2 that they haven't done.
Yeah. Maybe they're more like Walking Dead it, where it sort of goes on its own path.
Exactly, a little bit like that. So season 3, I don't think anything's beat season 1. And I think the characters, they're not doing anything different, but I can definitely see a lot of people getting tired with the shticks for a lot of these characters, or a lot of the zaniness that happens in the show. Tell me, before I get into more of it, your outside opinion from someone who isn't an Umbrella Academy connoisseur, I guess if you want to call it.
I mean, I've watched the entire first 2 seasons. Did not enjoy either of them very much.
Okay.
But I did watch them. I don't know, man. This is just a show that it's just very extra, I guess, if I can borrow the phrase.
No, that's the best way to put
it. It's definitely like a hat on a hat in a lot of points to me. They have a new character on season 3 that's like a floating cube, and they have this ongoing bit where the floating cube is supposed to be funny. So the floating cube goes, and then everybody laughs at the floating cube, which would be like an okay joke. But then because it's Umbrella Academy and it doesn't know when good enough is enough, everybody then goes around this room and says, that one was so funny. Wow, you're hilarious. So you should tell that one again. And it's like, we get it. We don't need it. It's enough. And yeah, I was mostly curious to see how they would handle the Elliot Page transition with the character. Given that this show is so extra, I was worried they were going to do something crazy.
The most subtle thing they've ever done.
It doesn't fit because it's the only like restrained piece of filmmaking in all 3 seasons of this show. I thought it was nice. I could do a little bit less with the piano that tells you how to feel, but I thought it was nice.
It's not better than the previous seasons, and I think if you're someone who doesn't like your answers to be, or your questions to be answered only to be hit with more questions than you were expecting answers, then this is not going to be the show for you. It has entered full comic book territory where you're dealing with multiple timelines and paradoxes and doppelgangers, and it's been the end of the world 3 seasons already, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to change for the 4th. But if you're a person who likes the dance numbers, boy, are there dance numbers in this. If you still enjoy all the quirky characters, the characters are just as quirky as all the other ones. But I will say they flipped some stuff. For the character of Ben, who people have been waiting to finally see him embody, well, it's a different Ben who's a jerk. I come to find out, though, the guy who does Ben, it's our dude from Showtime, Sundance, Colin Farrell, one of the best movies after Yang.
Wait, that's after Yang? That's
Yes!
Yang.
That's Yang.
Okay. Wait, no, I'm back in on Umbrella Academy.
I told
now.
you, bro. It's just it's a jam packed crowd over here. I will say they've also flipped some characters. Like for Allison, a lot of people liked her story arc when it came to season 1, and then in season 2 and the stuff she had to go through. And dude, I have been looking around. Obviously, I think it's rough what she's going through, but I'm a person who was like, damn, this is the season where they made her make some questionable decisions, but they'll change it in the future. People are like, we are done with her. I'm right here in the comment section. I got Bruce Wayne coming in saying Allison was character assassinated. There are some decisions that happen in this show that I just don't see how you can look back on these people. But I'm still on board with it. I don't think season 3 is any different than season 2 was. So like you said, if you're not on the show, this isn't going to be the one that changes it for you. If you are on it, I think it's again going to expand so much that season 4 can literally take it wherever they want. These have become full comic book characters where you're not really looking at the repercussions that, I don't know, a grounded television series would be. But this is way past that. You know, you got Five talking to his older self before talking to his younger self about what he's going to do in the future after the third apocalypse that they're facing. It ain't that type of show. It's really one that you're just focusing on the characters for it. And I think the characters still give similar performances to what they've given in the past. Were you able to meet Ashtray?
Yeah, Ashtray.
What did you think?
Getting some work. I don't know. I mean, he definitely has stereotyped himself a little bit in the violent little kid role. I haven't seen a whole lot, so he's only had a chance to set one thing on fire so far.
Did you care about the Sparrow Academy? Because I know that was another one where they don't. It's like the big setup of what's going to happen this season. I would say they don't really get into it as much as I was expecting to. Do you care?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I think one thing that has frustrated me with Umbrella Academy, something that frustrated me about the second season too, is that like I think they set you up with all these different plot lines, and then they kind of treat each new season as like all right, let's start fresh, and a lot of the things they asked you to invest in the previous thing are dropped because like, oh, here's all the new I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't that invested in it, at least thus far, but like I said, I'm not super into it. I'm not sure though. I'm trying to read your reaction. Like you seem like you're tolerating the show, but you also like elements of it. Like, are you mixed? Are you mixed positive?
So it's like when season 1 came out, it was a very interesting take on comic books because of the dysfunctional family that they have. And I feel we're doing that for the third season, if that makes any sense. So it's like, I can't.
There's not a lot of growth.
I can't be negative on it because it's consistent, but it's just like I'm waiting for the next thing that set it apart in the first season. That's it. And I don't know, it's like a weird thing because then if it does something so out of the ordinary, is that then changing the whole concept of the show? I don't know. I know it sounds a little confusing, but I think for a lot of people, the way that they've now tried to do something different with the characters, like I said with Allison by the end of the season, people don't like that, you know? There are certain marks where a character does something and then you feel like they've crossed the line. It's funny because I consider Allison's character and Wanda to be so close. And to Zach, to hear fans who forgive Wanda for certain things, not forgive Allison, is funny. The same way that Allison fans don't forgive Wanda, but they'll forgive Allison. It's weird.
A bit strange, perhaps.
A lot of madness going on, Zach. They're the same to me. Do you have a favorite out of these? Out of the main cast?
Out of the main cast, I mean, I think
that's my boy right here.
Because the thing is, I want to say Klaus, but also Klaus is annoying.
He's a lot. But they love Klaus. I think Klaus is a fan favorite. This is my boy right here, number 5. I don't know how they've gone away with it, Zach. The Walt syndrome has not hit this boy yet. I don't know how that's not happened.
Oh, yeah. I forget he's on this show sometimes, man. But yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He's like 18 already, so I don't know. That's why they had him finally holding out.
He's got a young face.
I got one for you, though. From the new group that they had, Genesis Rodriguez probably being the biggest one out of the bunch. They had one character who like spits something out. And I was like, she looks familiar.
I know where you're going with this. That would be I'll curb my enthusiasm for the reveal, but
Cassie David, Larry David's daughter, and for some of you, and I have this because I'm still cutting up for the LME, I had to go all the way back. I was like, no, I've seen her in something, and she isn't in a lot of stuff. So there's an episode of Hannah Montana where Larry David tries to get a table. and he can't get the table, but Hannah Montana can get the table, and it's her. She goes a lot. She's like, "Yeah, well, Hannah Montana could have gotten us the table, Dad." It hit me. So I'll be cutting that up for the LB. But overall, if you're a fan of Umbrella Academy, it's doing the same. If you're not a fan of Umbrella Academy, it ain't going to be for you. But as someone who's caught up with all the comics, including the newest Claws spinoff that they have, where he really, spends time in the void and thus no character can ever die in this series, I just want to see them do something zany again. That's not the same quirkiness in one hotel. Maybe it was the pandemic that also really limited it, because you have to think about how they were stuck in this hotel for the longest time, and the only time that they left, they were paired in twos, and that was so apparent in the writing. So I want to say that this season wasn't able to go to the next level because they were very much limited in how they had to film it. But Umbrella Academy season 3 up on Netflix. And
There's
I'm pretty
something
sure
also about there always being an apocalyptic event. It's just, that lessens the stakes in a weird way too.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
What about a heist though, Zach? What if, let's say, Netflix was like, let's do another heist, but this time the heist isn't in Mexico or wherever the last one was.
And just to be clear, the heist, we're stealing money for this heist, correct?
You do steal money for the heist for Netflix.
Okay.
But this time in Korea. I also have it here that it's titled Joint Economic Area. I have not been able to catch up with it.
You haven't watched this show, so you don't know the craziest part about this show.
I do not.
It's not just that this is a show about a group of bank robbers or whatever in Korea. This is a show that takes place in a fictional universe where North and South Korea are united. And they're robbing the Joint Economic Areas Bank. So, these countries that have been at war for a long time now are united, and that's not even the focus of the show. That's just happening in the background. That's just character information. It is a pretty crazy show. I say this also without having seen the original Spanish series to compare it to. So I don't know how much of this stuff they're borrowing, but it's a really fun mixture of the thrilling the thrilling suspense of a bank heist with these twists and turns in the story that are kind of soap operatic but also just fun, so you forgive them. I think it's a show that you can see that they've invested clearly in it, because the design of the show and the world of the show is really big and beautifully done. It's a very fun and effective bank heist show. I mean, it takes the whole tension of the bank heist movie, and it has thus far elongated it over 2 episodes. That I've only seen the first 2, but it's dynamic and it's fun. It has a few actors that I was surprised to recognize as well. But I don't know, man. To me, it's a pretty enjoyable show, even if it is kind of broad and crazy. I'm not sure how they're going to land this plane, but I'm in for the journey, at least thus far.
I mean, I heard it's supposed to be just a remake of the original. So if the original went 6 seasons, Zach, they got another 6 seasons to just translate over here. Bro, I saw Eugene Kim's in this, dude. Sun's in this. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sun's in this.
Damn. So yeah, I'm gonna have to hop on this. I kind of want to make a video for this because Money Heist has still been the #1 most requested LME that we've been asked for. So I want to do Money Heist Korea first and then see how that dwells. But all right, I'm glad you like it. I'm very curious to know your thoughts on the original if you do end up catching that one.
I'm not sold on it completely, but it is broad and fun, and there's just all these details that are enjoyable. Maybe really what this is telling me is that I should watch the Spanish show, but thus far I'm in. So
all right,
yeah,
Money Heist Korea, all out in one day too, right? So
yeah, binge Netflix.
It's all there. Another one you could binge is Mr. Bean fighting a bee. This says it's 10 minutes. Some episodes are 25. Some episodes are 9 minutes. It varies. This is Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean. Yeah. Some of you know
it's always
Johnny
nice
English.
when Netflix doesn't limit an artist to a specific runtime and they just let them, kind of do whatever they creatively desire.
These vanity projects getting out of control, Zach. So this is a man who's getting sued by a couple because he is paid to babysit their house. He's one of those house sitters, but a bee gets in the way. And it's because of this darn B that he practically blows up the house. And he's like,
as one does.
yeah, he's like, listen, let me explain. The B made me do it, and that's the whole series. I got nothing else to say. This would work as a YouTube original. This would work as a Roku original. Netflix got the rights to it. If you like seeing this man do faces, it's him doing what he does. He's consistent, you know? It's a CGI-B, though. The CGI-B is so goofy.
And it's amazing, though, how much he's able to accomplish despite cancel culture.
Literally. Yeah, so that's what Mr. Bean does. He dodges it all. Just can't dodge this B. Man vs. Bee over on Netflix. Cinema is still alive. It's also alive over on Hulu. Because, Zach, there is a little show called The Bear. It's an FX Bear. Hulu. That's a good one. I appreciate that reference. I got that one. Yeah. That takes place in Chicago. All released, already ready to go. I have been to this actual establishment, the original Beef. They changed the name a little bit here, but I mean, this is a Chicago show. It is about a chef who is trying to kind of revamp this little beef spot in Chicago to see what he could do with it, and you know, they really relish in the Chicago-ness of it, Zach. You know, they love showing you all the iconography. There is an episode that begins with a radio jockey just going, and now Sufjan Stevens. And it very much knows Chicago to the point that it's seeing it in a lens where it's almost making fun of it. It is very excessive in its Chicago-ness. But it is also a very interesting story of a guy who's not only taking care of the restaurant because it's been left to him. It's been left to him because his brother was addicted and offed himself. And then you get probably one of the darkest dramas happening within this like very hectic cooking show. Because a couple of weeks ago, I talked about that one with Stephen Graham, where it all takes place in one go in the kitchen. And this very much has that element to it as well. I'm blanking on what the name of that one was. And it's like a double entendre with the Boiling Point.
There we go.
That's a very good movie that I would highly recommend, and I would highly recommend the show. I really like the characters on the show, the dynamics that they have, because you know most of the people who are working in this place, they just see it as a fast food place. He's trying to come in after working at the greatest restaurant in the world, as they continue to tell you, and he's trying to make something different. You caught the first 2 episodes. What did you think?
You know, restaurants are a pretty cool place to set your thing, whether it's a movie or a show. I think there should be more stuff set in restaurants. So I should probably check out Boiling Point as well. So yeah, it's a cool environment, and it just ends up being this place that you bring together the pressures of a dynamic work environment. You bring in an eclectic cast of characters, and this show has kind of hit both of them, right? Like you have an interesting work environment that you want to learn more about. You want to learn, like, why is this place in debt? Like, how are they struggling to turn? What are they going to do to turn it around? The cast of characters is interesting. Like a diverse set of people who all are very like unique in the energy that they bring. So right away, I feel like those elements are working for me. My reaction from watching the first episode was that it felt like the 4th or 5th episode. Like, it's just a very confidently directed series. This series knew what it wanted to be exactly from the moment that it started, and it didn't really waste time with like, here's my first day at the restaurant. Oh, like, here's me getting the news that like sets the series in motion. No, like we're on the ground, we're rolling, we're cooking, we got lunch orders ready to go, you know, and I think that is a good sign that the show has that much confidence in what it's trying to put out there, that it's that dynamic and interesting from the get-go, that it'll hopefully continue on that runway. I was a little bit like, I don't know if I bought the shooting a gun in the air to resolve your rowdy customer situation stuff. Like, I know it's Chicago, but it's still America. I don't know, man.
It's still America.
I hope there are fewer elements like that, or fewer moments like that, but most of the show I was really vibing with.
I love the show. But you're right. This show thinks it's taking place in Chicago 2022 and Chicago 1945 at the same damn time, bro. It mixes like 2 different eras at the same time, and it is pretty funny. I think that Jeremy Allen White's performance is really
Yeah.
good. I always go like, it's that dude from that one show, Shameless.
Yeah, can't get that boy out of Chicago.
Jeremy Allen White. Yeah, that's the boy's name. I think he does a really good job. I think Ao, who I've
Yes.
literally, other than voice work, have seen her in the Rachel and Ao show. She is
We've been
fantastic.
hyping her
in
up.
here.
She's
Dude, no,
like one of those. She's going to be one of the next people, and
She is
she's
good.
got a chance here.
She's got this level of comedy, right? Just like from Shiva Baby does, where there's specifically one point in episode 3 where she's just so stone cold, it catches like the other characters off guard, probably even the other actors. I really like the dynamic that they're able to bring and just different dialogues, like you said, because all the characters have different backgrounds. So it's the way that they're interacting in this one place. And if you've ever worked in a kitchen, you know it's like that. It's not just working with other people and at their pace and what they're going for, but they're different outlooks of what every single person thinks the point of being at that 9 to 5 is meant to be. But I would highly recommend the show. All the episodes are out right now, and I'm telling you, each episode, in my opinion, just gets better.
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to extend the show. And I want to go get a beef, bro. Next time you're over, we're going to have to go visit this spot. They don't sell half the stuff they say on this menu. But the original spot still does it. Yeah, no spaghetti. I don't think they have any spaghetti. But yeah, check this out. The Bear over on Hulu.
Cool.
The final one, just to give it a quick shout out because I saw a couple of episodes, is Maya Rudolph,
Loot.
right?
Yeah.
Loot. She is a rich woman. She has a rich husband. Finds out rich husband's a cheater. She's finally going to be free, and she got all the loot.
She's Mackenzie Bezos.
Literally. Yes. Who's the other one? Gates.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
Melinda.
Melinda
She's
Gates.
all of them wrapped into one, dude. It's funny. I like this concept of being able to have someone who's like so filthy rich and has never been in this position of trying to do good because she doesn't even understand what good is. She's always been in a very sheltered environment, now trying to figure it out. What's our dude's name from, he was just in Fire Island.
Oh, Joel Kim Booster, right?
That man is fitted in this show, bro. That man is dripping in this show. I don't even know how much money he's supposed to be making off of being the assistant, but I've only seen a couple of episodes. It's cute. It's funny. Probably not up to the level of something as endearing or as funny as the previous show that she was in that the director or showrunner actually did for this one. I actually have it linked over here. One of our favorites from Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah, Forever.
We love that show. I would highly recommend going to go catch this one. This is, I think, it only ended up being one season. The same dude who did that, Alan Yang, is also working on this one over here. So Loot's pretty good, but I would highly recommend Forever. Put that one on your radar.
All right,
Loot is out on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, Loot has so many people that I like in it. I mean, beyond just Maya Rudolph, Ron Funches, you mentioned Joel Kim Booster, Adam Scott is in it. I saw Dylan Galula is in a couple episodes. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious about it. Although, like, I've been hearing some mixed feedback from the beginning, at least.
Yeah, but it's all right. Not the funniest thing they have on Apple TV, but still pretty good.
Cool.
So that would be all the stuff that's on streaming, series, all the stuff that's theatrical. Probably my picks so far as we get to it later. I just want to make sure people know to go watch The Bear on Hulu. That's it. I think it's a pretty solid show. And the fact that it's all dumped out there is that because you know how Hulu does it, and they won't renew something if people aren't like watching it in its first week, but it literally only gets 1 week because there's not going to be a second episode release later on. Whereas a lot of the other ones are done a little bit differently. But you had some picks you wanted to mention from Tribeca, which we did not know is still streaming until July 3rd. So if you're curious, still running at home.
Yeah, it looks like they have some options available with the Tribeca at home. So hopefully you can catch some interesting movies. But I did want to highlight a few of my favorites that I've seen over the past couple weeks. One that I haven't yet mentioned on the show is Attachment. This is part of the Midnight section. So it's a horror movie. It's got a lot of suspense. It's thrilling. This one is about a woman who starts a relationship with a Jewish woman, only for the Jewish woman to have a seizure, and then they go to her mother's to try and like rehabilitate her, and then it becomes this interesting mix of like, you know, getting to know a new family and trying to like weave your way into like a new relationship, matched with like a out of place culture clash thing, and you know,
Interesting.
you get through the experience of like, is my significant other's family weird, or are they actually doing something scary? I think it plays at that like unfamiliarity and that awkwardness of the position of not trying to overstep your bounds, but also trying to protect someone. It plays at these like dynamics in the relationship really interestingly. I really love the way that they incorporate some of the Judaism stuff, the discussions of the Dybbuk. I don't know. It has like a very interesting, ominous vibe, but also like has moments of levity within it too. I dug this one. Definitely one to keep on your radar if you're interested in kind of the horror movie scene.
Sounds good.
So Attachment, probably one of the better horror movies I saw out of Tribeca. Uh, I'm gonna skip ahead to Nude Tuesday because I want to save the other one for last, because Nude Tuesday is another interesting one. This one is co-written by Jackie Van Beek and the director Aman Ballantyne.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of interesting thing about, well, I'll say the plot. The plot is about this suburban couple that decides to go on a retreat to a sort of like sex rehab retreat thing, new age vacation spot.
Okay.
But the thing that sort of makes Nude Tuesday interesting is the entire film is spoken in a gibberish made up language. There's like certain elements like names that recur, but the rest of it is all made up. And what that did was afford them the opportunity to hire comedians to write subtitles for different regions. So if you're watching this film in the UK or in Australia, you're getting subtitles written by the comedian Julia Davis. But if you watch this film anywhere else in the world, you have them written by the comedian Ronnie Cheng. So I've only seen one version, but I'm very curious about how they'll change. There's all these different moments where like you can tell that these are jokes written in the end. Somebody hands somebody else a book and they say, oh, this is my new book called The Toothy Vulva. And obviously the book is not called that, but like if it's all spoken in gibberish, you can kind of add jokes in at the end. I don't know if it's necessarily as funny as I would have expected given the like, you know, possibilities of it, but it's definitely charming. There's sort of like a sweetness to the movie that I wasn't expecting. It's very funny. There's a funny Jermaine Clement performance in it as well. I dug this one more than I expected to, but it definitely makes me like want to go and track down the different versions now.
That's interesting, dude. Because I saw this was on there and I figured, I've caught some of Jermaine's movies. They're good, but it's like I could just wait till it gets the Hulu streaming release. I'll try to catch this one. Hopefully, when it comes out on streaming, maybe you'll be able to pick the subtitles.
Right. So the version that is through Tribeca, I think, is the Julia Davis version. Okay. So maybe worth catching it because we're supposed to get the Ronnie Cheng version in the U.S. eventually.
All right, I'm gonna get on that one. Nude Tuesday out on Tribeca.
All right, but let's talk about this last one, The Integrity of Joseph Chambers. This is the new film from Robert Machoyan, who's a director who emerged on our radar with his last film, The Killing of Two Lovers, which was a Sundance premiere. You and Amanda had this on your top 10s of, I think it was 2021. I'm not sure at this point, but yeah, and that's a really strong, kind of like small but interesting and powerful movie.
I like it. Out on Hulu.
Interestingly, the star of that movie, Clayne Crawford, who was also a producer on The Killing of Two Lovers, is back with him on The Integrity of Joseph Chambers. He has a role in the film, and he is a producer in the film. And I saw he's also responsible for the wardrobe of the film. So I think that gives you a sense of like the smallness of these productions. There's an intimacy. There's not necessarily, you're not going to get like big sequences. But there's something really powerful in the way they're able to do this. You mentioned to me that they brought back the sound design team from The Killing of Two Lovers for this one.
Yes, they did.
They definitely
They
did.
brought back the sound team. That was the
This
one thing that I loved about A Killing of Two Lovers. They do this thing with the sound where they're making the environment around him, the actual score. The composer and the sound design were the same team. And they
Mhm.
used his everyday surroundings to create what would be this atmospheric type of audio element. I guess they heard that praise and they said, well, how can we take that to the next level? Is it even spoilers to discuss what they do with the sound in this movie?
I mean, I think we can say like at one point, he's like pretending to be in an environment that he's not in, but the sound makes you feel like he's
What he's
there.
thinking. Yeah.
It brings to life the like inner workings of his mind, because the movie is about this guy, a man who, trying to sort of like prove his manliness, decides to go on a hunt for a deer. So a lot of the movie is sort of him alone in the woods, passing through time in his own head, thinking his own thoughts. And they're able to kind of like bring you into his emotional state with these interesting choices, whether it's some eerie noises or it's like bringing in crowd noises at different points. It's really cool. I think just one of those things that just reminds you of the power of film, and that you can make a bold, different choice like that and elicit a really effective emotion. It's a very atmospheric movie, and it's a slow moving movie, but I think the way that it builds tension, it needs to
It's a
move at
tease.
that pace.
It has
Yeah,
to. Yeah, it's
it
a
needs.
tease, and even more than that, it's a comedy.
Yes,
Oh, they
there's a
think they're
moment that
funny.
happens. There's a moment that happens after you've watched him dig a hole for about 2 minutes, and it's one of the funniest things I've seen all year. I don't know, man. This is just a it's a dry humor because there's a lot of darkness, but I think there's like something very like audacious in the way they're sort of like, they're really like analyzing this man for his worth through this film, and it really worked for me.
All right.
It built on me, and I dug it. I don't think I like it as much as Killing of Two Lovers, but I think it's
Right.
really strong, especially for something as minimalist as this one is,
Yeah.
and definitely makes me want to watch like whatever this dude does next.
Easily, I agree with you. I'm on the same radar for that. I don't know how much of the audio elements that they used worked for me. Some of it I was like, all right, this is not that it's a tad goofy, but it's just like I get it. We're in his head.
Yeah.
But I like that they took the chance and did something different with it. So I'm very curious to see what their next thing is. Again, watch The Killing of Two Lovers over on Hulu. And so far, I'd say this is one of my favorites. This is my top 5 of what I've caught out of Tribeca for sure, though. So The
Cool.
Integrity of Joseph Chambers.
Dope. Yeah. So we'll eventually wrap up Tribeca and do whatever our top threes or top fives were.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would put Integrity of Joseph Chambers and the other two that I mentioned as well among
Top
them
5?
for
All
sure.
right. Moving on to the yay or nay. Zach had a couple
Let's
of things
do it.
that he had on the horizon to bring up to me. I don't know any of this, so
Yeah,
talk
man.
about that first one.
I'm very excited to talk to you about at least the first thing for sure, because just announced today, Jim Henson's Creature Shop is teaming up with the Royal Shakespeare Company to bring Hayao Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro to the stage. Art, yay or nay, we should plan a trip to England?
Oh, it's in England.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the West End, not
Uh,
the East Coast. Come on, now.
it's the Royal Shakespeare Company.
That sounds really dope, dude. They'll tour. They'll tour.
They better tour. That sounds amazing. Like it's like the best in
Wow.
puppetry matched with the best in stage productions matched with the best in children's storytelling. What?
That sounds pretty dope. This is the same team who did, I guess, the recent Les Mis and the Matilda one, which I've heard really good things about. All right, then. That's a big A for me.
Yeah,
That's pretty
definitely want to see that whenever I get the chance to. And then we also had a question over from the Discord. Thanks, Brady, for asking us about this. He wanted to talk about Cooper Rafe, who just put out Cha Cha
cool.
Real
Wish that
Smooth
man.
on Apple TV Plus. And Brady was comparing Cooper and his work to Richard Linklater. So, Art, what do you think? Yay or nay? Is Linklater an apt comparison for young Cooper Rafe?
I see the comparisons there, kind of like the way that he's talking about his experience in college, because
Mm-hmm.
he started straight from college. He hasn't really done high school movies, which is where I feel Linklater was able to do a lot with Slacker and
Slacker.
such. They both, I guess, came out of Texas, if you consider South by. I don't know where Cooper's
Yeah.
from.
Dallas area, I think.
Is he? Oh, well, okay. There's another connection there. I see a lot of the comparisons there. Definitely a millennial version of him, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a fair comparison to make. It's just different in the sense of what they've had to approach. You know, 'cause it's what we always say about the Safdie brothers. They were like the last of the youngins who were still doing the, hey, let's try to get you in a theater while we're trying to make our production with film right before the full streaming age has come in. I feel this dude is very much a streaming era director. He
Right.
won his first one without ever having an audience to see his first movie. You know, same thing with his second one premiering at Sundance virtually. Something that can only happen with the technology that we have here. But yeah, I think it's an interesting comparison. Have you eased up on the man, or do you still hate him? Did you print out the New York Times article
I
and laminate
rewatched
it?
Cha-Cha. I rewatched Cha-Cha real smooth this week, and I was delighted by it.
I'm glad to hear.
I came in with my full cynic monocle on, and I ended up fogging up the monocle with my tears because Cooper is just like that
Oh, little
sweet and
Cooper.
charming of a guy. I don't know, man.
Aw.
There's definitely like elements of Cha-Cha real smooth that still don't work for me. Like I still don't really think Dakota Johnson's character works, but I think I do still think it's a good movie, and just I don't know, man. Empathy resonates with me. As for the Linklater comparison, yeah, I think it's a solid one. I think they both
A
kind of
compliment.
make these sort of slack movies with space, with room to just kind of listen to their characters talk about stuff, right? And that's something that not a lot of directors are focused on, but I think that's the thing that Linklater and Rafe really like is listening to their characters, and that love for their characters. That said, I don't know if Linklater ever had like a $15 million deal with a mega company like
that's
that.
what I
So,
mean. Yeah,
yeah.
it's different outlets for different things. So, oh well, we'll see how their careers go. I don't know if he's got his next one lined up yet, but I'm telling you, I think Cha-Cha's still gonna be talked about towards the end
He
of the
actually,
year.
in the article that I linked at the bottom, there's a paragraph about Trashers, which is his next movie. It's a
Okay.
father-son drama set in the world of hockey, and supposedly he's not going to be acting in this one. So I'm
I'll
definitely curious to
believe
see.
it when I see it.
I'm curious to see like what's different about a Cooper Raiff movie that isn't starring Cooper Raiff, if
We'll
that's
see.
the
Okay.
case. Yeah.
It's gonna be like the boys, bro, from Moon Knight. They leave to go do their thing, and then we crave for them to come back. Just please be back in front of the camera. But all right, good luck to Cooper Raiff. I like him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
rooting
hate
for
the
him.
man. Moving on to the new to see all of the
Do
stuff
it.
coming to streaming, theaters, on demand, all that good stuff. In June 28th, Zach, Endangered on HBO Max. This is playing in Tribeca. Did you get to catch it?
I actually haven't yet, but yeah, I'll try and catch up with it.
It's the one from Heidi Ewing. We really like.
Yeah.
I Carry You With Me from Sundance.
She
Made
also
a lot of great
did
docs.
Jesus Camp, which is
Yeah.
like one of the great
Like, what the heck?
documentaries.
Freakonomics, like the adaptation to the book that like was all over the place back when I was in
Yeah.
high school. So yeah, Endangered coming out on HBO Max. You gotta talk about this one. Only Murders in the
Yeah.
Building. I'm surprised you haven't caught up with the screeners. You
I
love
know.
season one.
Yeah, they sent us the screeners, and that's been like I keep being like, oh man, I should really start those. It's something about the June 28th date. I got into my head like, oh, that's so far. I don't need to start that yet, and now it's this week, and I haven't
Yeah.
watched any of it. But I love that first season, man. So I'm definitely excited to get back into that world.
Sounds good.
June
Moving on
29th?
to June 29th. I don't care. So Zach.
Yeah, the Baymax series over on Disney Plus. You're not pumped to return to the world of I even forget the name of the movie that he's from, Big Hero 6.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. There's an exclamation point, but I'm just saying Baymax. That's it.
Baymax ...
Baymax.
I see that Maya Rudolph is attached to this
I
series.
think
Is she
she was a
voicing
voice
the
in the
mom?
original. I think she was a voice in the movie. Yeah.
She's the
that's why.
mom in every animated movie now.
Pretty much. Well, I guess she's the aunt. She's Aunt Cass, which I think was
Oh,
the mother
okay.
figure in the movie.
Okay.
So regardless,
That's very different. July 1st over on Hulu, we have The Princess, which is starring Joey King. This is one of their Disney acquired movies from 20th Century Studios.
Fox, yeah.
Art, have you had a chance to catch The Princess yet? Do you know anything about this one?
I only know one thing. I have not, Zach. It's just been sitting there collecting dust in my
Yep.
screeners app. But
Virtual
one,
dust.
yeah, there's this one thing that when they mute the ratings and they don't allow you until day of, you know you're in for a treat.
Yep. Always a good sign when the embargo is midnight. Also on July 1st, we're getting Accepted out in theaters and VOD. Speaking of Tribeca, this was a Tribeca movie last year, and one of the standout documentaries. We talked a lot about we're getting all these documentaries about the pressure of sending kids to college, and this is probably the most damning of all those documentaries we talked about, discussing the scandal at a particular school where they were abusing kids and faking grades to try and get kids into or keep their 100% college acceptance streak going. Very interesting movie, worth catching for sure. Just theaters and VOD so far, but maybe soon we'll let you know. We got to talk a little bit about Minions, the Rise of Gru. That's the big movie this weekend. Everybody's clearing the way because you can't compete with Steve Carell. That's box office gold right there.
It's been, This is 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth in the Minions Despicable Me universe. There is a Despicable Me 4 already in the works for next year or the year following like that. The Minions, though, Zach, not to get it confused with their cinematic universe. These are the prequels. So if you're working on a prequel Despicable Me, then it's a Minions, whatever the subtitle is. So this would be the sequel to...
Is this the first in the timeline or the second in the timeline then?
Don't get it confused. There's some shorts also that come into play, but I don't want to fully confuse you in there, okay? Minions would be the first one because that's like the Minions and how they've been looking for someone to worship. They find him at the end of Minions 1, and then Minions 2, which is the Rise of Gru, Zach, is when they're finally working with Gru. And he's trying to make it out there. Now, I would consider at least watching Despicable Me 3, Minions 1, and parts of Despicable Me 2 to fully understand the references being made in this cinematic achievement that is Rise of Gru. But for the most part, I would also recommend a lot of 70s retrospective viewings because it takes place in the 70s, and they actually this was what really surprised me. Jean-Claude Van Damme voices John Claus, the supervillain with a claw.
Well, you think Jean-Claude Van Damme is too busy to be in Minions: The Rise of Gru?
Taraji P. Henson replays, Proud Mary, but in the Minions movie. Dolph Lundgren plays a version of Dolph Lundgren. Danny Trejo plays a version of Danny Trejo. And Michelle Yeoh plays a version of Michelle Yeoh in this movie.
Cool.
So I guess they were able to get a huge cast.
They got good that they got those bags, I guess.
Soundtrack. No, I'm talking about a bag. If you see the soundtrack to this thing, Tierra Whack, Brockhampton.
They always bring out the big guns for these soundtracks.
It's ridiculous. Happy I think it's still like one of the biggest soundtrack songs of all time from Pharrell. The movie is fine, bro. The movie's okay. It's the tolerable thing that you go take the kids to. I don't mind the Minions. I like the Minions. I find their language funny because it's like a third Spanish, French, and then like Italian. So they make me crack up when they say like something really dumb, but they get over goofy here. I know you said you haven't seen any of the movies, but you actually do kind of need to see a couple for the references they make in here, or just don't. It's just for the kids to see the Minions try to beat each other up. Oh, you went mute, dude. I can't hear you. I don't know if you got that excited for the Minions.
Yeah, I got so excited about Minions I clutched the microphone too hard and muted it. I'm almost curious to go see this one, having not seen any of the Despicables or Minions movies, just to be like, how lost am I gonna be really? Like, can I? Did they actually make this movie? You come
out a fan.
There's just something that's like so cynically cute about the Minions that I've always pushed back against it. Like I've always looked at the Minion and been like, you are made to sell toys. I've never just been able to enjoy it. And it's especially nefarious to me now that they're just in every Liberty insurance commercial. But I don't know. I guess I can try and hold my nose for 2 hours this weekend.
Embrace it, bro. Let it in. It's a new phase in your life. Minions: Rise of Gru out in theaters.
Yeah. Not a lot else to look up. Whatever.
We get our annual, uh, what's her name? Jessica Chastain kind of action movie in The Forgiven. Do you know anything about this?
Not only that it was like in a bunch of festivals and pretty much completely overlooked. Ray Fiennes also. We don't get a lot of movies with him either, but yeah.
Dude,
I guess this is like
Christopher Abbott.
The Boy.
So
didn't have a Sundance movie this year.
I am not looking forward to this movie, but it's got a lot of actors I like. It's that type of flick out there.
I like Jessica Chastain. I just wish she would try to stop making
these
action
movies.
star Jessica Chastain happen. Yeah.
Now she's doing it in the summer. They're usually at the beginning of the year, which you had one this year, 355. Felt like it came out 355 days ago. Hallelujah. Leonard Cohen, A Journey, A Song, played at Tribeca. It was pulled from the at-home screenings, so I did not get the chance to see it. But hey, it's Tribeca. Those movies come out practically a week later. I'm curious in this. I'd like to see. It's supposed to be how he wrote the song, but also very much looking into his life and how all of that connects. I think everyone knows the Hallelujah song.
Yeah. And you got to brush up on it before Bradley Cooper plays him. So,
shh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good thing. Just in time. And it's Sony Pictures Classic. Always like to mention that because I think they make really, really good documentaries.
Yeah.
That's a stamp of approval for me.
Right. That's one of those studios. Like, you don't always want to mention the studio, but when you get a Sony Pictures Classics, that's a good movie right there.
Come on now. Mr. Malcolm's List. Have you heard anything about this?
No, it sounds like a children's book or something like that.
That's what I thought, and I had seen it because I guess I had a release over by you. It's based off of a short that came out in 2019. Gemma Chan's in it. Now it's a full feature-length film. I've been hearing pretty good things about it. I'm going to request a screener because I believe this is going to be like a Prime movie that's going to do theaters first and then go on Prime. I know nothing about this, but if anyone's seen this, I guess some people have caught it somewhere, and they've been talking it up. So
I just clicked on the director's Letterboxd, and she's directed 3 things: the short Mr. Malcolm's List, the feature Mr. Malcolm's List, and Inside the Life of Bella Thorne from 2018.
What, they're going to say Inside the Life of Mr. Malcolm's List? I'm kind of looking forward to this one. So Mr. Malcolm's List is the final thing that comes out in theaters over from Bleecker Street. And then finally, we have 2 final things for Netflix: Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2. Have you seen the runtimes to these bad boys?
I know the last one is like 2.5 hours. It's like a whole Irishman.
We should have a podcast together. I was literally that was my movie reference I was going to say. Out of all the 3-hour movies that we've gotten, I was still going to say Irishman. Episodes
I heard
8,
you paint houses.
You heard me. 8 is an hour 40. They don't even got the times here on IMDb. I can't believe it. They're so long. They ran out of ink for the IMDb. And then, you're right. The last one's like 2.5 hours. You excited?
Weirdly, I am, man. We talked about how we were not excited for season 4, and then season 4 hit, and that was pretty good TV.
I'm pretty surprised.
I don't know. They're promising there's going to be a body count of some kind, which has also been one of my criticisms of the show up until this point. So.
It better be the right ones. Better be the right ones. But it is July 4th weekend. I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing. In theaters, it's Minions. At home, it's going to be Stranger Things. But also, Military Man. I read this article that they ran up the numbers for Chris Pratt, and that it has been $1 billion that has been invested in this man between, Zero Dark 30 to the Terminal List, of how much money has been spent making this man like pretty much the face of military stuff. I'll just put it that way. And this is his newest one, but this time it is a series. I caught one episode. Felt a little dry, but I'm not done with it. It's Prime. They love making this show. I mean, what are all the other ones that they got? Jack Reacher,
Jack Ryan,
all the Jacks. Is his name Jack in this, bro? I swear, if his James. Oh, they got so close.
That would be great.
It's got our boy Taylor Kitsch though.
Oh, Riggins.
Yeah, and Elvis' granddaughter. So it's a show to catch. I will be watching it. Definitely with the screeners that we got, I'm like, if I'm going to sit through this, I at least want to watch it in 4K, not the 720p they send it in. But the Terminal List, final thing that is out. Knowing all of that, Zach, what are your picks for the week, for the long weekend that is upon us?
Oh, yeah, we got a long weekend. Jeez. I guess, I got some time then to catch up on Only Murders in the Building.
Please.
Binge through all my season 2 screeners. I'm excited for that. And I guess I've got some time to watch Minions Rise of
Ain't no
Gru.
way
I don't know, man. I've been mean. You know what? I'm definitely gonna watch is Mind Over Murder, the HBO series.
Please, yes, that
Yeah.
is really good.
Chat told us that episode 2 is actually out now, so I got 2 episodes I can go watch, and then I also have more of The Bear to stream over on Hulu. So those are probably the top 3 for me: Mind Over Murder, The Bear, and then what were we just talking about? I
Mind
forgot
Over
already.
Murder, The Bear, and you said
And Only
Minions
Murders in
1
the
and
Buildings.
2 is what you said.
Only
Uh,
Murders in the Building season 2. Need some more Steve Martin short hijinks.
I'm gonna double it up with The Bear. Just stay at home, watch
Nice.
The Bear. It is a tough show, I would say. It's not as easy as you think it is, because to a lot of people, if they haven't worked in a kitchen, I play Overcooked to relax, which may be crazy to some people. So that's why I kind of like the show. It's definitely got that Chicago flair to it, and I think the story's pretty powerful with some really good acting in there. And then in terms of theaters, Top Gun. Let's get that. Let's get that up the charts. Zach wants it in the top 10. We're only 5 away.
I need my prediction to come true so I can post the clip on Twitter and brag about
Top
it.
15 is already crazy, but top 10 of all time? That's a little bit different right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would be my picks for the week. I want to give one little shout out over here because our boy Brady literally said, you mean the song from Shrek 2? Alina, Hallelujah's from Shrek 2. You have to understand there's a whole generation who grew up associating, because Sing does this too.
Yeah.
Bono talked about how a lot of kids are going to listen to Sing and then think the songs are from there, and he said, I don't care as long as they know the songs and are streaming it.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I want to clown on that, but to me, Hallelujah is the song from Scrubs, so it's not a whole lot better.
The music usually comes from somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always find that stuff fascinating, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. All right. Out of all the stuff that's out this week, The Bear, I think, is probably the thing that you and I both agree on as the pick for the week.
Sure. All right, but that about does it for the weekend must watch. Hoping we'll find some time to come back and talk about Barry season 3 because we still wanted to do that. But we're also recording our best movies of the year and best TV of the year so far episodes this week. So hopefully we'll get those out to you. If not later this week, then over the July 4th holiday. And let us know what are some of the ones that you need, or that you think need to be considered. Maybe we can get in some last minute watches before we record that stuff. So
hopefully
let us know.
Movies and not 10-hour shows.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm not sitting down for 10 hours of something I haven't finished. Although gotta get on Pachinko, dude. Gotta get on Pachinko.
Okay. All right, I will.
Yeah. But anyway, we will be back hopefully soon. But if not, make sure you keep tuned with the weekend must watches every week. That's about it for this version. I'm Zach Shevich. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. That's ZSHEVICH. And check out my YouTube or TikTok channels at Multiplex Show. Artwork and people, find more from you.
You can find me over at LME Explain on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Letterboxd, or every week here on the Intercut Podcast.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where you can catch our bright, smiling faces as we run down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Weekend Must Watch streaming on our YouTube channel. Usually we're on every Monday at 3 p.m., but we did a little bit of Intercut After Dark. Sometimes it's nice to, cozy up. I got my alcoholic beverage I forgot to open. Maybe we'll actually remember to open them on the next After Dark. But yeah, come and hang with us every week on Monday. Please leave a comment, like the video, and consider heading over to iTunes to give us a much requested 5-star review. I gotta go look up if we got any more reviews because it's been a little bit. And also like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod, as is our Patreon, where you can support us for as little as $1 a month and get access to early episode outlines, the exclusive channels on the Intercut Discord, and also our monthly Google Hangout meetings with the patrons. We had a really fun one last week. We'll schedule our one for July soon. So yeah, head over to Patreon, and thanks to our patrons. They are Ewan, Julieta, Garrett, Tim, Elizabeth, Josh, Ashley, Marianne. Our Academy level members are Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Pete, Sean, and May. And of course, a big thanks to our producer level patron known only as Awkward. Head over to patreon.com/intercutpod for that. But the rest of our social media, a great place to get updates throughout the week from me, from Art, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, Elvis met Priscilla Presley when she was only 14 years old. That's another thing they forgot to put into that movie.
Bro!
Yeah. I don't know.
Yes, sir.